Welcome to the Creator Pro Show. It's a brand new show hosted by Cam from Gray Media and myself, Kash Alavi. And this is a show that was birthed between the both of us through our late night conversations on content creation, building audience, and how we monetize some of our strategies. And we decided that we are going to take this to the next level and build a community because of all the people that reach out to us, asking similar questions and different things that we're trying to tackle through our business and our venture together with the content creation. So we're excited to bring this show. It's our first episode.
Yeah, I think when you gatekeep ideas, like it takes so much longer to progress, but being able to share and hopefully build a community of people who are actually interested in what we do, we'll be able to progress ourselves even faster. Because like if you have 10 people all focused in on one thing, you're going to learn 10 times faster. Yeah. So like that's the idea with this. We want to bring on guests who have like crazy experiences with social media. We are well connected with a couple of different people that I think would be amazing guests. So we want to be able to pick people's brains who are doing it full time, talk to people who want to get into it, and through the community be able to help people really push forward into social media and content creation.
Yeah, and being our first episode, we don't have a guest for this one, but we do have some very good talking points we want to go through. And social media and content creation is there's no one formula, which is going to make this show very interesting and the guests on the show very crucial because everyone has a different strategy. Everyone has a different value they bring to the table. Myself, I started maybe about 5 years ago making some content, and originally it started as a passion where I wasn't looking to monetize from my content, but I just wanted to put my passion out there, which was creating skit comedy and funny advertising, things that were out of the box. And originally I actually thought that it would hurt my business. And eventually it started creating some pretty loyal fans and a nice audience. And through that audience,
you thought social media would hurt your business?
No, I thought the type of content I was creating was going to hurt my business.
Yeah. Did you tone it down at all? Or did you just kind of just like jump right in?
I did it with some guidelines that I gave myself. I'm like, I'm not going to be unprofessional. I'm never going to swear. But I will test the envelope. Test, you've seen some of my old videos where I pushed the boundaries.
Do you not swear in any of the videos?
No.
Interesting.
I say shit maybe in one or two, but no, there's no swearing. I really don't like it. I've got kids, and they watch back my videos, and then even S word, which is like stupid. It's like they're like, oh, you said stupid. In that one first video I made, the girl says you look stupid, and when they watch that video, they're like, oh,
right away,
they're stupid, and they get triggered. So I try to make.
It widens your audience, I'd have to say. Like being able to focus on that. Like I think I swear just in my conversation, so it's hard to eliminate.
You don't swear
some
much.
Of those words.
No.
I think like when I'm pretty entertained, I like dropping F-bombs, and like it's just like an easy word to throw in there when you're thinking of words to put into a sentence. Basically.
But there's a lot of people that swear and you can really hear it. Yeah. It's like a vulgar delivery. When you swear, it's like, it's very subtle. It's not, so I don't really notice it. Overall, you're pretty professional though. That's
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So episode 1, we're going to kind of keep it very focused. The whole goal of the show is to really teach you guys on how to build an audience, how to communicate to your audience and engage your audience, but then actually how to convert your audience. I think those are the 3 main steps to social media and content. And I think a lot of people get the first one down. They start figuring out how to build that audience. Now they're engaging with it. They're talking to people. But I'd say most people, at least 90% of the creators out there, aren't converting and turning it into business as easily as they could be. I think that everybody, even if you have 100 followers, you could start converting business from your social media, but they haven't like irritated themselves enough where like they're now famous and they're like, why isn't this making me money still? So I think if you figure it out at the start, how to set up a conversion, as soon as you start building content and building an audience, you're going to be able to start actually reaping the rewards of that.
Yeah. And I'm a great example of that because as Cam's client, he's always telling me, even some of the other influencers I have a relationship with, for example, Mallory, who's in Ottawa, she's a coach, she's done tons of business content. She monetizes from her content all the time. And, I've had dinners with her where she's telling me, she's like, you can monetize at your level. You're getting hundreds of thousands of views. You've got 12,000 real followers who like appreciate your content. And you could see based on the engagement, she's like, you can even monetize on a way lower stats than that.
There's so many levels to it. I was at a golf tournament in the summer, and one of my clients, he brought on another social media specialist, and he brought her out for the day. She was like filming TikToks with her cell phone, but she makes money. She's like sponsored by like Cheetos and like all of the different kids food companies, and she's a mompreneur. So like she gets pulled onto podcasts, but she only has 10,000 followers, but she gets through like full on retainers with big brands. So like the level of social media, it's all across the board.
That's actually one of the topics too. That's very interesting because a lot of the companies are shifting away from major influencers, and they're shifting their focus to micro influencers because those micro influencers have more influence over their audience versus if Kim Kardashian says buy whatever makeup, the audience knows that it's been a paid
They've
ad.
Conditioned themselves to Kim Kardashian now, so it's not as powerful as what it once was. I also think that like Mr. Beast is well known with the kids, but I think like Kim Kardashian is your traditional influencer, where she's not an online influencer, she's more of a celebrity. So like so she's a celebrity, not an influencer, where she's known by the older demographic, but a lot of the newer, younger demographics that are growing up, like they're growing up on Mr. Beast and Mr. Beast content. Like you don't see Kim Kardashian doing anything too crazy nowadays. It was a little bit more crazy before, but
that's another point is that to sell out, you know, like we talk about this, like if you start selling and pumping to your audience, they start to put up a defensive, you know, and they're kind of weary of everything you say now because it's like, are you trying to sell me something?
Yeah.
And that's where Kim Kardashian is at right now.
She's
constantly everything she's holding is like people are questioning. Like when the boycotting happened with Starbucks because of the Middle East war, they immediately got Kim Kardashian to show up to Starbucks and get a coffee cup. And
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, I saw the post and people were calling it out, being like, "Oh, how convenient! Like Kim Kardashian never drinks Starbucks, and now she's got Starbucks in hand coming out and
with water in the cup."
Yeah, exactly. So like people are kind of aware of that, and this is where the businesses are starting to take an approach with these brokerage websites that broker deals between businesses and micro influencers. So influencers like, let's say like us that have a smaller amount of following, but our following is more dedicated and better influenced by us than Kim Kardashian. So like a conversion, let's say with 12,000 followers, I may be able to get a higher conversion rate than Kim Kardashian is, but she has a way bigger following. So I think it's a cool concept too, because this is the community we're building. Essentially, we want to help other business owners, like how we got to a micro influencer level. We want to bring them up to micro influencing too. And then that creates opportunities within us, because some people may not want to advertise with me because I make skit comedy. It might not be in line with their brand, but they may want to work with, Joe, who makes educational content, and that educational content is valuable to a certain company, let's say, and says, okay, I want Joe to advertise, and it creates new marketing campaign opportunities, right? So tell us a little bit about Gray Media, because Gray Media is a company you've had for quite some time now, like 5-6 years.
I'd say about 5 years now, yeah.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of, you're behind a lot of the realtors that are making different type of content, who are big in the sense of like, that are out there and recognized and known because of their content in the industry. Because there's a lot of realtors that make content, but it's usually the typical just listed, just sold listing videos. Whereas, you've got the Matt Campoli, myself, you've got some of the guys you've done vlogging for, Dave Hutch, Andrew Perry, these guys, different style of content. And it's brought a lot of followers and it's brought a lot of attention. How does Gray Media, how did you decide to, what was the process behind coming up with these ideas? Like skit comedy, I was doing them a little bit before we got together, but we were able to perfect the real short form, how to go viral, how to get over 100,000 views per video. That's what we're doing really well. But I see your process with Matt as well. Like you guys work together a lot throughout the pandemic. Also with Dave and Andrew doing the vlog stuff.
I think it was very progressive. So like when I was working with Andrew and Dave, it was a lot more of the long form content. There wasn't anything really short form yet. There wasn't any TikToks or Reels. We were breaking long form content into square videos, and we would post it on Instagram with like the captions over top. That was like before the reels. But it was a lot of like just trial and see what works. Before like working on Gray Media, I actually worked in house at a real estate team, and that taught me a lot about industry specific content. Before that, I was creating like YouTube videos, and I understood YouTube really well. I would watch all the vloggers. Like I was faithful to Casey Neistat for like 5 years, watching his daily vlog. So I knew vlogging because it was the only thing I had consumed as like my regular television in a sense. So jumping in to do vlogs was pretty easy. And then I also started a podcast with that team. So it kind of taught me how to record a podcast and get the whole production behind that. And that's something that Andrew Perry wanted to launch pretty quickly because nobody was doing that. So we launched a podcast with him. That's where we were making a lot of those square videos out of, which then turned into reels. But with him, it was just, let's capture the day and let's show the industry kind of what it looks like to live a day in my life. And that's what I knew how to do really well because I was doing my vlogs personally. I did like a 30-day vlog challenge before all of this in college and did really, really well for me. So vlogging was natural. Podcasting was a learning curve in a way because you had to have multiple cameras. You needed to have all the gear. So being able to create budgets through these guys was awesome because I was able to build up my repertoire of gear and like what I knew and how to use it. And then after that, it progressed into short form content. I remember really learning how to do reels with Dave and Demetrius Gia. Like we did a lot of reels together, and Dimitri was somebody with a lot of followers, and he really, really focused in on what he was saying in the videos. Like it would spend us like, we would take like 3 or 4 hours making one reel. And that's where I was like, holy shit, like why are we putting so much effort into this? But the videos would get 50, 60, 70,000 views. And that's what opened my eyes up to like storyboarding short form content, because like with long form videos and with, actual skits, like you had to do that in order to make sure that you had everything for the shot list. With vlogging, it was like, let's record the day and make the video afterwards. But with skit content, like you needed to make sure you had the whole thing planned, or else like the end of the video was boring. It really didn't lead to anything. So it was a constant progression of like learning, but also pushing myself to try that newer thing. I think I got bored a little bit of the vlogs and the podcast and doing all of that boring style content. And it was a fresh opener, being able to produce a show like field trips and touring houses. Like that's something that I always wanted to do. I liked the HGTV shows. But then when I got to work with you, I got to really learn the comedy skits. You were somebody who was open and more comfortable doing that stuff on a more open basis.
Yeah. And that's where I find value is because I would think a lot about different forms of content. Obviously, also being dictated a little bit about the formats that Instagram put out there, like the reels, the trending stuff. So like that stuff kind of dictates what you should be doing, because if you want to get more exposure and more views.
Was it reels when you hopped in the business, or
No,
TikTok, or
no,
what was it that you were creating?
Just simple original ideas, which I preferred because like it really got me to think of a new idea. I would have to, I would take my scenarios with clients that were slightly funny, and I would exaggerate them and put them in a storyboard and say, let's make a video about this. Let's make a skit comedy about this. But I would have guidelines for myself. And one of the main things was I would have to turn this into a subliminal message, or a message that would be kind of an ad for who I am as a realtor. So I had started the campaign called Whatever It Takes. And my first video was my car breaks down. I see a girl on a tricycle and she's like, you look stupid. And I'm like, not stupid enough. So I trade my watch and and the message behind it is I'm supposed to get to a client, and I traded my material things, which is my watch, my glasses, the things that cost me money, for the tricycle to get to my appointment. And that was like, and then the slogan was whatever it takes. And the second part would always change to get you home, or to make you comfortable. I made this other video where we're showing a house. The client accidentally farts on the video, and then the wife gets all nervous and she's like, I can't believe you did that in front of me. You're embarrassing me. And I'm like, no, it's okay. Wait. And then
and you
boom,
farted too?
I farted too. And then
That's funny.
The slogan was whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable. So
Yeah.
even though I was pushing the envelope, and essentially the concept.
I haven't seen that video.
You haven't seen it?
No.
So the reason you haven't seen it is because I didn't start the video off right. Because the first few seconds, this was before I learned these things, but the first few seconds of a video is quite important. It has to kind of set the tone for what the audience is to expect. The first few seconds of that video just looked like a touring video. It looked like a house tour. So it looked boring. So a lot of people skipped it. And the punchline was at the end. So you had to really wait for it. And so I would probably redo that video, but do it differently because the idea is very funny and it's also something that's natural. Like everybody passes gas, right? But using that as a message to say, I understand you're human. I'm human too. Let's make you feel comfortable so that we can get past it and get through this process. So I really like that. And then after Reels came out, because Instagram started copying TikTok and all that, and then I started getting swayed by the trends and jumping on the trends, which was also good too, because the trends also gave us a lot of exposure. So the views would go up because you would use that trending audio or that trending whatever video, and then you'd get a lot of views and exposure. And some people would follow you because they liked how you looked, or they got the right vibe from you, and they liked your delivery.
I'd like to challenge you to not reshoot those videos, but just to re-edit them and see if you can re-edit those videos, because nobody's like, if I haven't seen it, I guarantee you 90% of your audience hasn't seen it as well.
Interesting. Yeah.
So just like re-loop it, like the quality of it's still pretty good. And it would give it a nostalgic look, being able to push it back to the audience.
I feel like if I worked with you on those videos, it would have come out differently the first time. Where one thing that we do well together is we understand now the audience and what makes people engage and what makes them interested in your clips and what makes them what retains them to your video, which is how we've gotten so successful with some of the last videos getting hundreds of thousands of views, 300, 400,000. And so now it's time to really push it and make more content that's also different style of content. So the community we're building is going to be a wide range of different types of people and different content styles. My content has a lot of humor, and there's a really cool TED Talk by BuzzFeed. They are very good at making viral videos, and she gives a nice talk on what creates value for people. And laughter, humor is actually a big one. It's one big category that anyone around the world can find a humor in your funny video. They don't have to be in a certain industry. They don't have to be a certain culture, whatever. So that's a big one. And that's helped me a lot to grow. But there's other pillars or factors too, like categories like educational. And this is where I'm learning that podcasting, for example, or vlogging may not be of great value. Because unless you're someone important or someone who's famous already, no one's really interested to see what your day is like. They might click on it and be like, who's this realtor? What do they do throughout their day? But I don't care what your morning routine is, unless you're famous already. Or even if you have a podcast, I don't care about your guests. If your guest is an expert in a certain field, I want to hear them speaking of that field because I may learn something. But I don't care about that guest's morning routine or their diet unless they're like a fitness trainer and their body looks incredible and they have 0% fat and now they're sharing how they got there. That's different. But a lot of the people who start podcasts, that's what they do wrong. They bring guests on the podcast and they just talk about the guests. And the guest has 5,000 followers. Maybe a few of the followers from that guest who already follow them want to learn more about their daily routines or their lives or whatever behind the scenes stuff. But for the majority of it, people don't really care. So this is why we're starting this podcast, because we want to bring value to the audience. And we want to talk about the main pillars, which is building an audience, creating engagement, and monetizing from that audience, but in a subtle way.
And I think one thing just to open your eyes up a bit more and just the audience here is one way that you can make those videos a little bit more interesting is in the thumbnail and the title. So the vlog, you could do your daily routine, but make sure that somewhere in there is an actual piece of value that they're getting from it. Maybe we're checking out this brand new restaurant that just opened, but in the first 30 seconds of your video, make sure that you're talking about it and showing clips of what that looks like. And then you can put it 3 or 4 minutes into your video and do your daily routine first. That's going to be able to capture a new audience because now they have something to look forward to.
That's true.
Or with the podcast, how you're actually titling the podcast, where it can be oh my gosh, this guy's 0% body fat. You have to the top 1% reasons as to why he has 0% body fat. In your title, that's where you can kind of pull people in. And I think long form is a little different from short form. I think short form, it's random. So if I see your face. I don't know who you are. I don't care what you're talking about. I'm going to swipe by real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
With long form, you can capture them with the title. But in your clips, you have to make sure that they're really broad in the things that you're talking about so that it will be valuable to a bigger
And
sphere
you
of
actually
people.
pointed out something that was interesting on one of our conversations is I was asking you, like, how is it possible that someone with millions of subscribers has videos that only get like 700 views, while on Instagram, with 12,000 followers, I'm getting hundreds of thousands of views. And you pointed out that on YouTube, you see the thumbnail, but you have to actually physically click on it to see the video. Whereas TikTok and Instagram, you're just scrolling
spits
through.
content out at you.
Yeah, and it starts already. So like you have a few seconds to capture that audience. So you're right, on YouTube, it's very important to have a nice thumbnail, a nice title that entices the audience to click on it.
But more important than that, in that first 30 seconds of that video, make sure that you're engaging that title and that thumbnail, and that thumbnail is showing what the first 30 seconds is going to be about, because that's the couple of seconds, similar to a reel, that you have to retain your audience. And if you retain your audience and you have no drop off, your video is going to be suggested to more people the same way that Instagram and TikTok do it, where if you captured your audience and they've watched all the way through, that video is going to continue to be pushed to more people. I don't know if you look at your reels, but some of them with lower views probably have a very quick fall off rate compared to the ones with hundreds of thousands of views.
Exactly. Like the house tours, like people will watch the beginning and then it drops. Now those house tours that get a fraction of the views of the other skit comedy stuff that does well, they still have some power to it because they show the audience that I'm working and I'm busy in real estate and I have listings or I'm selling something, but they don't watch it through.
I think it's very important to focus more on, like, maybe we look at those types of videos and how we can improve them, but the hook of those videos. Do something extravagant in the first 3 to 5 seconds to capture them, to tell them what it's going to be about, and then actually go through the house in a quicker manner. I think the slow videos, people are kind of bored of those. People are in the car, on the bus, walking somewhere. Like, they don't have time to sit and watch that. When you're watching Instagram and TikTok, you're passively doing something, versus YouTube, you're probably sitting on the couch, you're probably sitting at your desk, or if you're listening to a podcast, you're in the car. So you're not going to click off of something because you want to be engaged. To get pretty focused with this podcast, though, I'd love to kind of hop into like actual content and actual value we can provide. So I think like a big thing that a lot of people do is they're looking for inspiration, but they're also looking at videos they can copy. What's your thoughts on like stealing video ideas?
So you know the story of the guy who stole my content like verbatim.
Yeah.
I was in a listing presentation with a client, and all of a sudden, like, my buddy's calling and it's like, "Hey, isn't this your video?" And it's like sends me the link, and I like within the appointment, I opened it up and I'm watching them. It's like frame by frame, the
Word by
acting, word by word, the props, everything. It was like my video. Then I click in the guy's account and I see he's like literally copied like 7 or 8 videos of mine. I won't lie, it made me feel violated. I was like, at first I was like, what the, and the salt in the wound was that his video was like close to 1 million views.
Yeah. I think it got over 1 million views.
It got over 1 million eventually, but my video only had what, I don't remember.
Like 30,000 views, I think.
That's it?
Yeah.
I thought it was more, but then his video, which was like a copy of my video, like literally framed, like he dissected my video and like got even the same angles. And maybe we can overlay it on this clip, but his video was getting over 1 million. And then I reached out to him. I'm like, hey man, like, I really truly appreciate the fact that it's flattering that you're like copying my stuff, but I think like this is wrong, right? And he's like, well, a lot of people do, they'll copy trends. I'm like, this is not a trend. This is a completely original idea. The script, the idea, the everything. And so like, I didn't really get into it because it was a learning experience for me too. It's like, if you're making noise, people are going to want to copy you. It's like Harmozy. He started making the talking head stuff. Everyone's making the talking head stuff now.
Yeah.
I wonder how he feels about it, right? When it comes to content making, like back in the day, you used to make an ad. That ad, 30-second ad, the budget was like a couple $1 million for, and it lasted like, it ran for a year, right?
Years, if it was
years,
good.
yeah, like Coca-Cola or Nike or something. They would run the same ad over to the point where you knew it by heart. You would like dream of it. Nowadays, content is short-lived, and you really need to recreate yourself and be on top of it if you want to make bigger noise. Like, people will steal your style of content immediately, especially people within your industry. Like in real estate, now everyone's making skit comedy. Now everyone's doing the trending stuff. Now everyone's doing like, like the stuff that we used to do that no one else used to do. And so like, should you feel about people stealing your content? And where's that fine line between
inspiration and stealing? Yeah. Now let me ask that. Like, we look at a lot of other videos for inspiration. What's the difference between inspiration and then stealing? Like, what would you say is that? So
I have taken videos, that we've recreated. But we always have like a rule, at least we try to give it our own spin. Different script, a different
exactly.
Different
we'll steal
delivery,
the concept, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we don't do it on all of our videos. Like, well, if we find something hilarious, we're like, this is so funny. Like, I got to redo this. And also has to match the personality, right? But it's sad because the way social media is, it's promoting that behavior. In essence, there's a lot of creators out there, but they're not really creating. They're just repeating. They're putting a slight difference, a change to it. And I started noticing this kind of behavior earlier on with memes. Because then people would send memes and like they'll take a photo and then quickly, and then they would just evolve into something else. And everyone puts a little touch of their own on it. And it's a whole new trend, but it's something that I'm not fully comfortable with because I feel like there's no copywriting this stuff, right? And at the same time, like, where was the original? So one segment I would love to do on this show is to pick a trend and find the origin of that trend.
Yeah, you're talking about this.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool.
I think it'd be really interesting. And then maybe we could do that as a reel or short form on YouTube where it's like, do you remember this trend? Blah, blah, blah. So we have located the original idea and then maybe get in touch with that person and say, hey, how did you come up with this? Right?
Remember the Harlem Shake?
The Harlem
Back in the
Shake.
day, did you ever do that one?
Oh, yeah.
That trend? Yeah. I think there's a lot of trends like that people can copycat off of. Like we're realtors. This is what we do. Like that's not stealing because you're not stealing word for word. I think there's a difference when you're stealing word for word. But then also when you do steal content, the fireback is like, where is the guy that copied your videos? What's he doing now? Is he still creating content? Does he still keep up with the views and the audience?
I looked at his account. He hasn't made a video in a long time. I think so. A lot of my audience, a lot of my followers landed on his stuff and started commenting on his stuff, being like, oh, you stole this. This is such a, and then like Kash Alavi, blah, 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 because he took like really original ideas. And I think I would assume that kind of puts you in a weird state of mind that like you feel kind of shitty that like everyone's kind of like telling you like you suck, you just stole idea, like you didn't, that wasn't yours, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe he realized that he can't come up with his own ideas. He probably doesn't have a process for that. And so it's like, do I continue stealing this guy's idea because now people are starting to notice? And
then he's also part of a bigger team. And then how does that actually make the team look now that somebody on the team is taking, like, do they all do that? Like, how does that? See, I think he works on like a family team.
Yeah, it's his whole family. And then I think one of them, because I had messaged the other girl that was in the video, and she's like, hey, listen, like I just helped them with these videos. Like I don't know much about. So like I think it created a sense of like, let's just not do this anymore. And then they kind of stopped. But I was actually thinking, and we had discussed this, that like he's stealing my content anyways. What can I do about it? I gave it a few days. I thought about it. I'm like, let me engage with him. Remember, I was about to
fly there and put a billboard up.
I was about to troll him.
Yeah.
I thought that would be the greatest thing. It was going to grow his account, but I was going to do a rap battle and then call him out on stealing my content. I was going to put a billboard and just troll him on every single video. It was going to be great content for me.
Yeah.
Because like every week I was going to do something like send him a trophy for being the best copycat artist ever there, and like send it to him and then have someone like record it, deliver it to him or something like that.
Send him your dirty shoes that he has to
Send him my dirty
Yes,
that was another idea. It's like, you want to walk in my shoes? Can you hand it? And I was going to make a rap song with like my kids without shirts, like kind of like, like aggressive and that kind of thing. it would have been great content. It would have also grown his, if he was smart about it. Like if we had done it, he would have been, if he was smart enough, he would have played into it.
Creative enough. Yeah.
Creative enough. And then it would have been great for both of us because then we would have grown together because now there's a feud. And
that's an offline feud. It's more of a show. Like I know a lot of bigger YouTubers do that. So like Jake Paul, Rice Gum, like all of these guys back in like 2015, 2017, they would drop diss tracks on each other. They were all friends behind the scenes. They go to the club together, but everybody online is like, oh, he's dropped a diss track. Now I want to see what this person's response is going to be like to his. And it's like merging audiences, merging communities.
It's entertainment.
Yeah.
And this is the thing is like we're going towards more entertainment sells. You know, back in the day, it was like provide value with information, education, do seminars as a realtor. Now it's like people want to be entertained at every single turn, you know? And we see a lot of companies do that too in their ads.
How harming do you think not ads, but like targeted content is for younger audiences, like kids, for example, like with deciding what your gender is? Or I know that's probably a weird area to go into, but I think that is a thing. Like kids probably talk about it at school. Now it's popping up all over the algorithm. What's pushing them to genuinely try those things?
I am a big believer that whatever you see, like in movies or in shows, become a thought in your head that now gets kind of your attention, and that attention now creates like it's like a pie, attention pie, and it's, let's say you start thinking about like gender, like am I really a man or am I a woman? Like you start exploring, and it could snowball in any direction. And the problem is that some of these companies have a way to sway you, not with gender, but let's say with a product or service. You know, you're thinking about going on that trip, but you're not sure. Like, you know, you shouldn't be going because you don't have the money, but these platforms know you better than you know yourself almost. They're saying Google is the new god. Like Google knows who you should be matched with. Google knows what you should be eating or what your diet
I was literally just watching like a history show on Netflix, and it was going over like dating apps. And like before, like in the 90s, it was websites. It was kind of like frowned upon to do it. But now 90% of people are getting into relationships off of apps. And it's pretty weird how like Tinder, how the algorithm works for Tinder. Like if you are a top profile, you're also going to be shown other top profiles. So like it's peak of the class. Peak. Yeah. So it's creating different classes that you're showing.
Yeah.
That's who's being shown to who.
But see, this is what's happening with Instagram too. Like that check mark, that blue check that you could purchase. When I leave a comment, because I pay the $20 a month for that blue check, when I leave a comment on things, because you see my comments do very well. I have comments that now I'm kind of using it as a game where I'll leave a comment, I'll make it witty, and then I'll see how many likes it gets. I've had comments that got 80,000 likes, you know, which is huge. And I have a feeling that blue check mark helps because people notice it and they'll read that.
I think once they click into your profile and see that you have a following and you get views, then it helps. I think there's two ways of thinking about it. I think the way that it works is like they were holding out for like 5-10 years with check marks. Only famous people could get check marks. Everybody wanted one, but it was really, really hard to get it. So some people would pay to get it. But then Elon Musk bought Twitter and then was like, hey, we need to create revenue. This isn't just a hobby, it's a business. And then he started selling the check marks. And then Instagram was getting into hot water and they needed to create revenue. So they were like, hey, like this is an easy way to create millions of dollars in reoccurring revenue every single month. This is something that everybody has always desired. Now, everybody who's in business has a blue check mark. So it's everybody has it, but like I think people also in their mind know how to really dissect an account and see if like
if it's real, if they're real, or just paid. But I think we all agree now, seeing the way the world is going, that the social credit score system is a thing. And because you already see it, like as I've built a bit of an audience, sometimes I get recognized because I'm sure Instagram will show my videos to the places I frequent.
Audience,
yeah. So sometimes I see people recognize me, whether it's a gym or a restaurant or like the Persian community, because I've made Persian videos, like funny videos. And it has this sense of like local celebrity feeling where like you get recognized by a random person. They know about you, but you don't know about them. And they approach you, and it creates a little bit of that social credit, because then that person's like, hey, come to my, and I've been given free stuff at a restaurant, like a here, take this dessert or take this thing, and like
You get treated differently.
you get treated a little bit differently. Yeah.
I think that really works with podcasting. So somebody who might not have reach into a community starts a podcast, and after 3 months, they now have, because you're popping up on different people's feeds and they've seen you online, they think about you differently. They see you as a creator. They see you as top of the
Authority.
top 1% of basically an authority in that industry. They'll trust you more.
Yeah. Which brings us back to what is the purpose of your content?
Yes.
Because if you're building an audience for the purpose of, let's say, real estate agent, you want to create transactions, should you be going my route with making skit comedy, or should you be educating your audience about real estate, because that's going to be more effective in bringing in clients? There's different strategies, and I think part of this community, we're going to be dissecting all of that. And I'm also at the next stages of my life where I started the contents that I'm doing as a passion. It did lead a lot of business. I have been doing a lot of more business over the last 3 years, and more than I would expect. But we're also finding out ways of, like, if I really want to monetize it even further, there's ways to directly target and be able to funnel,
Create monetization.
and create a monetization. So in the past, I always said, like, don't create more than one account, because I struggled with creating consistent content for my one account. But I'm starting to realize that, no, you could have a few different accounts that have different purpose. So I'm now getting to the stages where my content is creating me as a brand, which is my personality. So the skit comedian / let's say the content guy creating this stuff. And then there's also me, the real estate agent, who is doing transactions. I've been doing it for 16 years, and I have a big book of business, and I still have a wealth of knowledge and a team that I want to feed with transactions and obviously service clients. So for me, I think I'm at a point where I could separate the two and have, on one side, I can do my creative passion, more marketing stuff, because the marketing stuff is starting to bring real opportunities to me. I have developers approaching me, willing to give big marketing budgets to creating content and campaigns together. And then we have the real estate side, where I have a team that could service clients very well by educating, servicing, and so on and so forth. So I think I'm at the right point to separate the two, so I could create more real estate content, educational, informative, some entertaining, but then keep my page as my personal brand. What do you think of that?
I think that's 100% the way that you're going to have to go. I think there's a couple words that you need to start switching out. So, like, content type with personality. I think it's all about personality. So I think your personality, you're out there, you'll make skits and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people will. But when you're thinking about small friend groups, just in outside of social media, you tend to push yourself to the personalities that are similar to yours. So I think personalities attract specific types of people, but then there's also algorithm. So if you switch the word algorithm with audience, it's a totally different way of thinking. So if you start creating a bunch of content all about skits, your algorithm is only going to target at an audience that is interested in skit content. But if you have a personality all about real estate and educational content about real estate and information about real estate, you're going to start getting investors and people who are interested and personalities that are interested in real estate watching that. So I think it helps break up the different niches, and it allows you to really create different personalities within brands. I think brands do hold personalities in a sense. Like the Gray Media brand versus the Kash Alavi brand have totally different personalities in a sense. I think that my audience is a lot more educated, not educated, but like they want educational content about social media. Your
They want
audience wants to laugh and have some funny content within the real estate industry still.
And what's beautiful about it is that you shouldn't shy away from it. So if you're a realtor, don't just be that serious realtor who's a luxury listing realtor because that's all you want. It's okay to show personality because it actually, some of the stuff overlaps. So humor, I used to think, it's only going to attract little kids, but I've gotten some really serious deals out of like my funny videos where some of my clients, own multi-million-dollar properties that I've sold for or purchased. So it's okay to overlap, but the way I was able to convert I wasn't converting them at first, but then I started doing stories. And in my stories, because I'm showing my day-to-day life, I'm talking about the house I just staged. I'm talking about the property I just purchased my clients, the challenges of that property or whatever it fell through or the inspection or whatever. And these things made me look more of an authority when it comes to real estate. So it converted some of the people who were following me.
What has been the largest transaction that you've done that you would say is because of social media content?
4.5 million.
And what was it, a silly video you think that attracted that person?
It's
or?
not one video. And this is what people make a mistake is they think one video brings them business, but it doesn't. So they see a video, they think you're funny. And at first that one video, let's say it was a funny video, they're not thinking of you becoming their realtor. They're just like, I want to follow this guy because he's funny. But then they see the stories and they're like, oh, he's working, he's staging. Oh, he's got kids. He's a responsible dad. He's working out every morning. He's disciplined. And he's got a good sense of humor, but then he's also well-spoken and blah, blah, blah. It creates, and then they have conversation. Yeah, it creates a persona. Then you become top of mind for them. And then you see they're watching your stories on a daily basis. Then the stories turn into conversations. Oh, which gym do you go to? What routine do you follow? That house you staged, where is it? I'm actually interested. We're looking for an investment.
So do you think that person was because you created content about Toronto? That's kind of how they kind of funneled in?
No, that person specifically loved my funny videos.
Yeah.
And then saw that I'm a family man, saw that I was, working out or whatever, I had right habits and created a conversation. And then this particular person I'm talking about was working with another realtor. And then eventually said, and it wasn't selling. So then eventually said, hey, come and list this property for me. So
you're confident in saying that you can get a 6-figure client through social media and through creating just personal, funny content.
Multiple
Doesn't
times.
have to be.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very confident in saying that. And in fact, I had traced back in 2022, I traced back $220,000 directly from social media. Just
in 2022.
2022.
So that was before even your, I would say, the more viral content. So the
before
videos
the viral
100,000
content.
plus.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily. I'm starting to understand you don't necessarily need a only viral content to get that kind of business. Like you said, it's if you have authentic followers that feel like you're true and you're authentic and you're a family man and you're well knowledgeable. You've been in the business long enough. They obviously see shots of me at my office. They see the awards in the back. Every so often, I'll talk about the latest award I got, so they know like you're producing. And
so do you think you've captured a lot of market share over the last year, so that once the market does bounce back, and it will bounce back, it's just a matter of time, you're going to get an overflow of clients because of all of the viral content we've been creating this last 12 months?
Yeah, but even throughout the slowdown of the last few months, like I did quite well. And I attribute that to some of them has to do, like 2 of the listings I have right now came from social media.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a good thing and bad thing. So the bad thing is that, so I used to farm an area and it was very focused area. It was a focused area. And I used to send flyers and I knew what to expect in that area. Well, ever since I started doing social media, sometimes I'll get calls and I've had listings in Whitby and as far west as like Oakville. And so they call you and they want to work with you. The benefit with creating social media content and posting stories and having them become familiar with you before they call you is that you don't have to sell yourself anymore during that presentation. Mm-hmm. When you go to the house, they've already made their decision to work with you.
And I hear this over and over by every realtor, even the ones with the smaller audiences. Mm-hmm. People who watch your content know you. They don't have to negotiate at all. Like they're already sold on who you are. Exactly. It's just like, what are you going to do for me?
Exactly. And I feel like, in fact, I actually, some of the business falls through the crack.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say some of the business falls through the crack is because you get a lot of DMs of people that like will talk about real estate and say, hey, I'm maybe thinking of doing an investment or whatever. It's the follow-up. Mm-hmm. If sometimes I don't follow up again with some of those people, and because I'm already doing a lot of transactions and, you know, like I would have to have them on a drip campaign and so on. In the past, I've been hesitant to do that because I don't want to be harassing someone with a drip campaign and newsletters and this, that, and only because they had a conversation of maybe investing with me. But the way I'm doing it right now is probably the worst of it because I'm not following up enough. One of the reasons is because I'm not too money driven.
So would you say though, you think that that's saturating your audience in a way where it's allowing you to, when you do finally push hard again, there's going to be a huge saturated amount of people that are ready to do business with you just because you haven't been really on them the way that you could have been in the past?
Yeah, and I would say the term for that is like I have a virgin audience because I haven't really sold to them much. That I've noticed when I recommend things, like that time I recommended Brazil nuts, it makes me feel calm and relaxed. And ever since I've had it, I had like 30 DMs being like, where do you buy these Brazil nuts and how do you feel about it? Like people take your word for it. But if I'm constantly trying to sell people and they start to sense it, I think there's going to be less inquiries, less conversations. So it's a fine line between how you sell it to them and like becoming a pushy salesman.
So what about hijacking clients? Do you think that's doable through social media?
So I haven't hijacked, but I've had people I know are trying to hijack my audience. And I've had people trying to hijack your client, which is me. I could see like you're the videographer. I always collaborate with you on posts, but I see other videographers that probably see themselves as your competitor reaching out to me. Like, hey, you know, I know you must have already a videographer, but we provide this service, that service, that service. So this is the new age. It's like, I don't look at, because it all depends on where you place your value. If I'm a realtor, there's a lot of realtors that place value on the bottom dollar. Like, okay, Cam charges me X amount. Can you do it cheaper? They might not see the value in the quality. I know that the time I spend with Cam is very important, and it doesn't really it's a priceless amount because the way we come up with ideas, not many other videographers can help out with that. That's very valuable to me. The way we produce content, because mood is very important. So when we're making a funny skit, I have to be in the right mood to be acting that way so that my video can reach 300,000 views. You can sense the authenticity through the video. And for me, working with the right person is very important. So hijacking clients, it's a very effective tool, but it's a shortcut in my opinion. So instead of creating content to build your community and audience, to then engage them and then eventually monetize, convert them to clients because now they've followed your journey and they really like who you are and like the work you do. Instead, what you're doing is you're looking at your competitor, looking at their following list, and then you're DMing them directly. So those people don't know who you are because they haven't really been following you for long enough, but maybe you're giving them different value, you're giving them a cheaper price. I don't feel like those relationships will last as long as our relationship. Yeah. You see, our relationship is growing into something different, like this podcast, like the community we're talking about. Those will bring new opportunities. So yes, you could hijack other competitors, followers, or audience or clients, but I don't think it's going to be quality relationship. And sometimes quality relationships do come out of it. You know, people get along and whatever. So it's not to say that it works or it doesn't work. I haven't done it personally, but I've had people trying to hijack me from, let's say, you, or from the mortgage broker I work with, or, you know, so there's another realtor. He started following everybody, like my mom and my sister. Like that's how you know they're trying to hijack your clients, because they don't know that's your mom and that's your sister, but they're immediately following, and they follow like 12,000 people, right? It works for them because then he follows up really well. Like he'll message them, DM them, hey, how's it going? Like, do you have any real estate needs that I can fulfill? Like, and it works with some people because they're like, okay, we are looking for a house. You seem very persistent and you're not giving up, and you seem to be working hard, and let's schedule a call. And if you're a good salesman, you can follow up and make sure that they don't go anywhere else.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it passively works. Like I know when I was first starting Gray Media, that's how I would get business, is I would like go not directly in my competitors, but for example, people who did listings. I knew that I was in a totally different market than somebody who did listings, but I knew that was the audience of people that I wanted to attract. So when I would cold DM people, like I would say maybe 5-10% of people would message back and hop in a meeting with you. But that was really how I learned how to pitch people, how to get the meetings together, how to set a meeting, like how quickly you have to be about actually putting a date on the calendar, or else it's just going to turn into nothing. But when you do finally attract that client who says they're not going to do the exact same thing to you. And that's one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of confidence in my clients, was you build a relationship with somebody, they're kind of depending on you. They don't want to have to go and relearn a whole new person in a sense, and the way that they run their business. So I don't think you're going to lose too many clients in the creative business that way. I could see it in like the mortgage field or a lawyer. If they're able to provide a ton of value, it might be a lot more successful. You just have to be very subtle with it. I think as you're building your brand, it's very important to reach out to people and build a sphere of like an audience of people who are interested in you, but let them follow you afterwards and then watch your content and don't make another move. Don't say, hey, just following up. Like, what's your thoughts? Do you want to start another shoot? Or, hey, do you want to set up a coffee meeting? It's just like that person's not interested enough in you yet. Wait till they respond to you next. You've gotten them to at least follow you. That's one step towards them reaching out. Now just put out good content, and if they like you,
like they've already like accepted who you are and you know, like approved of your content and decided that they like you. That's where they're following you. And sometimes actually hate is also powerful enough to convert. I've had people who have followed me, and I personally have followed other people who I have seen as not as disliking. I'm like, oh, well, who is this loser? Like, why are they talking this way? Let me follow and see more of their content as they come out. There's a satisfactory feeling, like you feel satisfied watching someone fail, right? But then slowly you get converted to being used to that person and building a relationship from afar with them and almost expecting their content. And so you evolve from like disliking this person, but following them because you dislike their content or you think their content is really bad, and then getting used to who they are and then going through their journey.
The craziest part about that is the algorithm knows that you dislike this person because you actually spend time watching their content.
But you don't like it.
It pushes them to the front of your feed. They're always in the first couple of people in your stories. They're always the first post that's popping up. So the best thing to do in those instances, sorry for cutting you off there, but I just unfollow these people because I know now the algorithm's playing games with me and constantly sending that person to the top of my feed. And in my mental health, it's affecting the way that I perceive social media in a sense.
Yeah, and this is why I was talking to you about mindset, because part of this community we want to build, you have to grow your mindset as well. There's a growth factor. You'll kind of go through all the different emotions. Like hate is one of them. I just learned to stop disliking people. Everyone has a different strategy. I not disliking, judging. Stop judging everyone. And because there's never going to be perfect personality. It might be in your eyes. You might see someone's content and be like, that's who I want to be like. You might idolize that person. A lot of people watch Hormozy's stuff and they're like, I want to be just like him. He's so successful. He's laid back. He's not salesy, but he's doing really well. And then there's the opposite. You'll see people who are really trying, making an effort, but you know, people will dislike them. I will follow. If I dislike the content, I'll still follow to learn from that person and try not to get too emotional about it. But it's crazy how social media will show you your true self. And it becomes a learning.
Social media knows you better than yourself. Like the algorithm, they've literally hired psychologists and people from casinos to make it as like dopamine hitting as possible. Like the mental side of things is kind of going a little extreme. And that's why I think it's dangerous for people under the age of 16 to be using it, because how is that going to sway your mental health? And what's that going to snowball into in the future?
And this is why what we're doing is very important. You're going to want to join this community because the new currency going forward is attention. And how do you get your share of attention is pretty much how you're getting your paycheck. Going forward to 2024 and beyond, you're going to have to create a presence online. You're going to have to be an authority in your business or in the field that you're in. And you're going to have to be able to convert your audience into, people who do business with you. And
or else you're going to have a huge ass budget to market against the people who are already there.
Yeah, like there's a time where SEOs and Google ads were the thing. But like you said, social media is way more powerful than that. You make one captivating video, could get millions of views. And those millions of views could instantly change your life. Yeah.
And then watching people, like it's very important to just start because it's the compounding of your content. So now that you have 200 videos, how long is it going to take somebody else to make 200 videos of that same quality? Now you're already 200 videos ahead of them. You've learned all of these things in the same amount of time, but it's going to take them 2 years to learn those things to get to the point where you were at 2 years prior, if that
but
makes
this
sense.
is why this community is going to be important, because we're going to try to curve that learning, like the
100%.
that learning curve. So
Last thing before we get into the community, I want to talk about what are your thoughts on Universal pulling all of the music from TikTok? This
that's
happened
really interesting.
last night.
We were discussing this last night. I thought it was detrimental. Thankfully, I don't have that many videos on TikTok that uses like these songs. There will be some of my content that will go silent. I think it just kicked in this morning. But I think it's a very weird area. I don't know exactly how I feel, because you kind of need that recipe. You want trending audio. I can't put like no copyrighted music, like just like classical sounds on my content, because it doesn't hit the same way. But if you have like a really nice rap song, depending on the mood of the video, if you have a pop song or something that's recognizable, it makes a video 10 times better, right?
I used to heavily do this for a lot of clients. We would use trending music in the background of the videos very subtly. Even the videos where it's not really even in are going to be muted. So I think like there's a lot of people who've probably created 6, 12, 16 months worth of content that's going to go silent.
But why doesn't TikTok just mute that layer?
It's already like merged into the video and compressed it into a video. It's embedded all together. So it's very, very important not to depend on the music. So if there's a couple of workarounds, like when I make Kash's videos, I'll put the music in my editing software, and then I'll also put a low pass filter. So it basically makes the sound very, very quiet and very subtle. It's almost like when you're at a club and you hear the doof, 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 and the type of song, but you can't make out what the song is. It's still there, so it's creating an atmosphere for the video, but then your voice is the main sound that's being picked up, so the algorithms really won't pick up on it.
But this is only affecting TikTok.
But Instagram follows everything. It copies everything. So I think that they probably use the same sound library, because there was probably a specific price at the time. But I was listening on the radio on the way here that the music industry is like this all the time. It constantly shifts, and they want more money from different things. It's similar how like when Taylor Swift pulled all her music off of Spotify a couple years ago. So I think they just want more money, and I think that it will come back. But I don't think all of these videos will be unmuted if they ever do come back.
Oh, you think so?
I think it'll stay this way.
So I look at it as an opportunity, because if a bunch of these videos go mute, there's going to be new content that has to be created to replace it.
100%.
And so like it creates a void that us creators can utilize to...
If you're thinking about it like a lake of content right now sitting in TikTok, they just drained half the lake. So right now there's all of these viewers that are still on the platform, no content to watch. So it's a perfect time to be putting content.
Yeah, because without the audio, what's the point of the video?
Yep, it's not going to be pushed.
Yeah, and before we go, actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I thought, like we brought this up last night, and I thought it was really cool. Everyone knows about the Kash Man, who is a public figure in Toronto. He started before social media, advertising, and everyone knows the song, I'm the Kash Man.
Yeah.
Corny, cheesy video. At first, I remember when I saw it, I was like, what is this guy doing? How is he going to get business out of it? I feel like he was a first case study of like, make a wacky video and you'll still get recognition, and recognition will turn into business. And he was one of the first ones, like
him and Bad Boys are like the only one, like the nobody, like that's the only other thing that I know of.
Yeah, R.I.P. Bad Boys.
They just went under.
Bankrupt. Maybe it's because they stopped running those ads.
Oh, totally.
But I think it would be really cool, and we talked about this, to get Kash Man on the show, because he was one of the, I would say, like a TikTok style of video. That was like a TikTok, because he was dancing to the music.
In a sense, it's kind of like a TikTok.
Yeah, and it was almost like user generated. It was like it was very like cheaply done, but it was very memorable, and it stuck, and it was like replayed over and over again. I would love to have him on the show, so let's reach out and see if we can get him on here to kind of discuss his process, how he got the guts to do that on national TV.
And what influences really brought him. Like, I bet you the different opportunities of I know it's not really the jewelry business, but think about all the people famous in Toronto that would be like, oh, I got to come here because I've watched you on TV all the time. It's similar to like Oliver Jewelry. Like my dad just bought something from there and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that those radio ads work.
But he is Oliver Jeweler, no?
I don't think they're the same person, no.
Because there's a few after. Like it started Oren. There was Oren.
I don't know that one.
Whatever. But I think they were like a trendsetter. And they were like a case study. The same way that when I started making skits for real estate, I know I can hear through the grapevines that like some realtors were like, "What is he doing? It's unprofessional, or does it really generate in business?" I think we all had that same thought process when the Cashman came out with his video. I remember at first it was like, "What the hell?" Like people were like, "This guy's a joke," and then it ran long enough that it became catchy and people were like singing it, you know. And then now, like to this day, I know who he is. And the jewelry business, like, I mean, how much trust do you need to have in your jeweler? I mean, you want to trust that the jewelry is real, but it's like, it's a different persona. It's a different image that they're trying to portray. I think the recognition and being known is more important.
I think for him, it was just like, if you need cash, you know who to go to, because he was
That's
like
true,
the buy
yeah.
and sell gold. And if you need to, like, he's the first person that I'm thinking of when I need that quick cash. I trust him because he's funny. Like, I know he's not going to try to rip me off sort of thing. Like, that's the way that I feel about him. But like the whole nobody, like, it's interesting to see somebody with such a strong brand build such a big business and then collapse like this at the same time.
I think it's also the new age of like buying stuff online, Wayfair, StruckTube, like, you know, it's a very heavy business to have that kind of inventory. Furniture is very bulky. Like, look at this couch. One piece of furniture that has to
shipping it and stuff.
Shipping everything. I mean, shipping would be easier if it's in the back warehouse. But imagine having a store, you're paying high rent, and this one couch that's like specifically green and orange.
I think it's a mix of that and then passing down of businesses. So the person who built a business isn't going to be the person that's running it 70 years later. So who is the person that truly built that
Probably
business?
the
We
kids
see a lot of people handing down their businesses right now. I'm seeing that with a lot of big brands. Like what happened to Toys R Us and all of these different types of brands that were huge and now are all going bankrupt.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to show that it's not necessarily the product or service, it's also the people that are behind it. Same thing for content. It's like, I can make a video that's exactly the same video that you've made, but delivered differently, and mine could do better than yours. Just like how Jack stole my video, right?
Blatantly, yeah.
And got 1 million views on the exact same video. Like, that was a great case study too, to really look at the two and say, how come my video didn't capture that? To the point where I was trying to like really think of the reason why. And I was like, is Instagram racist? Is it because I have a darker skin and facial hair while he's like a clear white guy? But it was also the opening scene, for example, like the one I'm shooting in the air, his edit was better. Like the quality of the sound, his gun looked more real. Maybe that first few seconds captured more people.
And I think it was, where was he located?
He's in, I think, Washington.
Seattle?
Seattle.
Yeah. I think it's also like the demographics of areas. Like the States doesn't have nearly as much content. So to get a piece of content like that, I think pushed it out to a wider audience much faster. Like I think that if you're in California, you're going to get a lot more views than you would here locally.
Yeah.
I think that leads us into the 6-figure content strategy event that's going to be happening, which you guys can actually watch the recording after the fact. We'll have to link it down below. But what is the 6-figure content strategy going to be?
So what we want to do is to launch this community. We want to start doing workshops and provide free value to. First, we're aiming at the real estate industry because we know it very well. I'm a realtor myself, so I know the challenges that are posed, you know, with content and monetizing. So the first workshop, February 29th, we're hosting and talking more about building an audience. And it's more of an introductory course to anyone who wants to start building their audience. You might have started an Instagram page and made content, but your content's not really going anywhere. It's not generating engagement. And so I think there's certain tricks you could use that we have learned along the way on getting that engagement. And we're gonna be speaking about that. So it was going to be only in person, but we did a tester. I just talked about it on my story once, and we are close to 50 people signed up. And we think that once we put the promo out there, it's going to be over 100. So we might do a combination of in-person and Zoom, and we'll record it. But during that program, the workshop, will also be launching the community, hopefully, and start to build this community of creators, of business creators, people who are entrepreneurs who want to talk about their business, their service, their product in an authentic manner that they could build an audience and get engagement and eventually monetize.
So if you're interested, on February 29th, we're going to be having that live event. If it's after February 29th, 2024, you can actually watch it. It's going to be linked down below on this video. If you're on SoundCloud, you can go into our YouTube channel and find it on there. But then after that, we're going to have the community, which you guys can probably join now down below. The community is through a program called School. There's going to be different discussions, different opportunities, different live trainings every single Wednesday.
Recommendations, referrals for gear, for apps, for new trends.
I think the discussions are going to be very, very powerful. The area to be able to discuss and to give creative criticism. And I think a lot of people are going to be scared of them, but I think it's a good place for us to be able to test things beforehand. I don't think a lot of people test when they're posting. They don't test their titles. They don't test their thumbnails. They don't test the things that they're going to be publicizing and never changing again. So I think if people are in the discussion area chatting about like what makes a thumbnail good, what makes it bad, giving creative criticism without even posting to it, you're going to be able to read what people said about other stuff and judge it on your own.
It's very important because that's what social media is. When you post the video, you get creative criticism through the comments, by the likes, by the views. So it's better to kind of run it through a community that will give you their kind of feeling on it or their feedback before you post it. You can better your content, and you can learn from one another. Everyone has a different, strength, and you can learn from their strength. How do you act in this scenario? How do you come up with script? How do you storyboard your ideas? What templates do you use? We have different templates on Notion that we use. We share different, documents and stuff like that help us communicate and our ideas back and forth.
Keep things organized.
Keep it organized, yeah. So.
And then the cool thing is all of the accountability calls are going to be actually recorded, so you can go back and watch all of them. So if there's a specific training that you wanted to watch, you're going to be able to find them live on there. You're also going to have the ability to become part of an engagement group. So as soon as you post one of your videos, you can share your content in there, and everybody can kind of hop in, leave a comment, leave a like, get some shares going, and get that algorithm really pushing the engagement of the content. I think that's going to be a very, very powerful tool.
The other thing that's super powerful is eventually, as the community grows and becomes comfortable with one another, you're going to have the opportunity, and we're going to be encouraging it, to collaborate with like-minded or people whose content can overlap easily, right? Like you may be a real estate agent and a mortgage broker who really enjoy the type of quality of content that you guys are doing, or it's similar. So I might find someone who's also really funny or really good at acting, and I might want to collaborate with them. That community will bring us together and create opportunities to collaborate on content. So you make one piece of content and two people can share it. And I think that's also powerful too, because everyone's looking for content.
100%. And then there's also going to be exclusive content that you can kind of watch first on there before it's posted anywhere else to YouTube. It's going to be up a week or two beforehand, as well as discounted rates on different services that we do offer. So if you're looking to edit your content, shoot content, plan content, do coaching one-on-one, there's actually going to be discounted rates to anybody who's part of the community program.
Yeah. And hopefully in the future, we'll have affiliate links to, stuff that we use or stuff that the community has approved or reviewed on and that works well for us. So we'll have like a whole resources section.
And then you guys can also even make money off of the community by using a lot of the affiliate products on your own, selling it within your content and talking about the different things that we use, and then what can help strengthen your viewership in the future.
So look forward to that. I think there's going to be so much more that can't be discussed right now, because eventually, hopefully, if we have a good community going, maybe we do workshops together, trips together, with the purpose of bettering ourselves in our content or in different areas that will help our overall efforts online. Also, we're going to have on these future podcasts, we're going to have very important guests, I think, when it comes to learning about making content, building audience, monetizing. Guests who have gone that route already, who have millions of subscribers, who have hundreds of followers, who have monetized or created funnels, who have used different strategies to turn it into business. I think it's very important that we hear from different people. I'm going to be the first to say that I'm not an expert, but I'm going to speak of the things I've learned and the mistakes that I've made. But it's very important that we get other experts as well and join the conversations and trying to filter all the value out of it and bring that to the community.
And all of these experts can't talk about everything live on the podcast, but they have talked to us and let us know that they will be able to make exclusive content for the community. So having them on the podcast is going to be one thing, but actually having training lessons from them within the community is another powerful tool for you just to get that much closer to the place that you want to be on social media.
So look out for that. And again, we're at Motorista Studio Garage. This is a beautiful event venue here in Leaside. It used to be a historic aerodrome, and it's been converted to a nice vintage rustic garage that could be used
A
as
venue for anything.
venue. Yeah, there's been fashion shows, New Year's Eve parties, all sorts of events, kind of like a hush hush or speakeasy style of venue, which I really enjoy.
They said they had camels in here.
They had
Camels and goats and anything you could think of.
yeah, for the New Year's Eve party. I've seen some pictures. It's really cool. Yeah, so we're going to be doing the podcast here out of this location. If you're interested in this space, you can reach out to one of us. We'll put you in touch. But Motorista Studio Garage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.